selective and linear. Simply put, a human remembers the best of times in progressive order, beginning with earliest childhood. The rosy memories are only challenged by nightmares. A Cardassian remembers everything on every level all the time. For us, past and present are not really separated. We live with everything in the moment, including the nightmare. And so you don't. Now, to a normal human, this would be chaotic, intolerable. For us, it's just the way it is. This is one reason why I'm addressing this recollection to you. Fate lines are converging, like memories to a dying man. I need to write this, Doctor. And you're the only person in this station who understands. The invasion of Cardassia is momentous. Many will die. If I don't survive, I want you to deliver copies of this to some people I will name at the end. Now, there's another reason. I know that we have grown apart, and that's as it should be. We learn what we can from certain people, and then we move on after we've taken what we need. When we learn nothing new about ourselves in a relationship, that's when the relationship is over. Or it's over the moment when we're afraid to learn something new about ourselves. But what I've been learning about myself, whatever it was that was sparked and challenged when I first met you, this is still going on and deeply connected to this story. I'm an unfinished man, Doctor. Like a suit of clothes hanging on a display rack, waiting for the final touches that may never come. I need to tell this story to make peace with those parts of me that were left unfinished. A healing. Indulge me, if you will. I need you as a witness. A stitch in time. Chapter 2. Entry. When I was at the age of emergence, I was sent to the Bamaran Institute for State Intelligence to begin my education as a security operative. This kind of education was usually reserved for children of the current ruling elite, but sometimes a child from the service ranks is identified as promising. I was one of those children. My father was a maintenance work foreman in charge of the grounds, monuments, and memorials of the Tarlac sector, a majestic and ghostly place that commemorates the heroes of the Cardassian state. My mother was a housekeeper of Inabrin Teng, the man who owned the house we lived in and who worked at the Obsidian Order, the mysterious agency responsible for state security. We lived in the basement apartment of Uncle Inabrin's house, and my parents proudly identified themselves as servants of Cardassian public ritual and cleanliness. It was always assumed that I would become apprentice to my father. Many of my earliest memories are about preparing for and cleaning up after state funerals and dedication ceremonies. I was a serious little boy, assiduously carrying out my duties and responsibilities. I had to. My father was much older than Mother, and he never said much, but what he did say was always clear and to the point. Anyone who worked with him understood that if he had to repeat himself, he would be very quickly demoted to maintaining the city's service. My mother not only maintained Tane's house, but she also worked with him at the Obsidian Order. He was particular about who cooked and cleaned for him and depended upon Mother for all his personal needs. I was never sure what it was he did. I just assumed he was important enough to afford a house and a servant. The Obsidian Order in those days was housed underneath the assembly building, and it was years before I even knew where the entrance was. As a child, I would go to the Tarlac sector with Father, and while he supervised the crews, I'd play by myself among the black and white angularity of the monuments, imagining myself to be a great gull or legate giving the funeral oration for a fallen comrade. There was nothing, however, about the Obsidian Order that inspired or excited my childish fantasies. Nothing but silence and mystery. But Tane, at home, was anything but mysterious. It was not unusual for Uncle Inabin to appear and take me away on some excursion that involved a long walk through a section of the city. And during these walks, he'd test my awareness and challenge me to describe a house or a person we just passed. I could look. If I hadn't been paying attention and couldn't remember the details, the walk was over and would silently return home under the weight of his oppressive disapproval. He also seemed to know how I was performing at school, and if he didn't approve of my progress or behavior, he'd punish me. I was a hard worker, but I had a mischievous streak, and I enjoyed getting others involved in questionable activities and arranging it so that they were found out and took the blame. On those rare occasions when I was caught, Tane would somehow find out and punish me, not for my misdeed, but for having been caught. And when he discovered my fear of small, dark spaces, his favorite punishment was to keep me in one until I convinced him that I had analyzed and fully understood how my mischievous scheme had gone wrong. I found it odd that Mother and Father never had anything to say about these punishments. One day, shortly after my emergent ceremony at school, where I was acknowledged as a man, I came home ready to assist Father at the dedication of the Voltar War Memorial. I was surprised to find my parents had heard a stranger. They were never at home at this time of day, and we rarely entertained guests. They were very private people, and even discouraged me from bringing any of my schoolmates home. Both were clearly ill at ease with this man, who was introduced to me as an official from Placement Institute. At first I thought I was in trouble, and my face must have reflected his fear, because Father attempted to reassure me with a forced smile. But the uncharacteristic falsity of his behavior, his barely concealed agitation, only made the situation worse. I'd never seen him like this. Mother's face was a mask. It revealed nothing. She spoke as if I needed to clean off the day's work before we ate. Elin, it seems you have a sponsor. You're going to be placed at a prestigious institute you leave today. Just like that. Any kind of response was beyond me. I had no idea what this meant. I stood there, looking at the three of them, looking at me, and expecting some kind of reaction on my part. The Marin Institute, Father added, as if this was the Bible of missing piece that would enlighten me. Oh, I knew about the Institute, so what student didn't? I knew that each student needed to sponsor someone high up in the government or military who would recommend the student and guarantee his or her performance. And I knew that I had reached the age when students were moved on to their next educational level, the level that determined their working lives. But those schoolmates of mine who were identified and assigned to an institute knew well in advance that they were going, and they knew who the sponsor was. When I began to ask who mine was, Father cut me off. That's not your business, Hero. Your business is to get cleaned and ready to go. His business is to serve Cardassia and the Empire in thought, word, and deed, intoned the official. Your childhood is over, Garak. I was stunned. I wanted to ask more. I wanted to ask about the dedication ceremony that afternoon, but I didn't dare. Father had that look on one of the papers, didn't get it right the first time. What had I done wrong? Mother, as if reading my mind, suddenly turned to me. This is a great honor, Kilo. She said, with a passion that startled me and belied her mask. I didn't know it was anything but. Oh, it was a long time before I learned the truth of my sponsor. Chapter 3. You will be pleased to hear, Doctor, that I volunteered to work with an emergency med unit in the city. Whenever people are found alive in the ruins, we are called in to administer aid and to make sure that they can be moved to a medical facility.